How do you know that your students are making progress? In EFL classes, we often rely on a combination of question and answers with the whole group and paper tests. Another valuable way to measure their progress is through periodic one-on-one conferences. I like to keep a portfolio of my students' work during the year to help track their progress. One of the things I place in that portfolio is notes based on monthly reading conferences that I have with the students. The procedure is simple. After a reading, when the class is working on something quietly at their desk, I call one student aside. I ask him to tell me as much as he can about the story or article we just read. While he's talking, I prompt him a little, but most of the time, I just listen. After he goes back to his desk, I mark a rubric like this one and make some notes about the completeness and accuracy of his retelling. The whole process should take around 5 minutes per student. If I have a small class or a private student, I can have these individual assessments more often. If I have a large class, it becomes more difficult, but I think still worthwhile to measure student progress on a regular basis, even if it's only once a month or every 6 weeks. It's a much more real-world or authentic way to think about progress in language learning. Can the student read or hear something and explain it to someone else in a meaningful way? Carlos, could you come here for a moment and bring your book, please?
Okay.
Hi. Did you get a chance to finish this article about cell phones?
Yes, I read.
Great. Could you tell me about it? Just include everything you remember.
Okay, this article is about the cell phones, and the people in the world now is using a lot of cell phones in the life for help in the life. And the article starts to mention that now the people is using cell phone every day, every time, and it's impossible to turn off the cell phone. And explain about the healthy problem from the cell phone related to the radiation mainly. Because the high tech now is has or contain a small amount of the radiation. Mm-hmm. So some people think that this radiation is not good for the brain. Okay, and probably it's necessary that you don't use the cell phone every day. This is probably dangerous.
What do you think about that?
I think that it's true. The high tech probably has radiation, but it's in a small quantity, so probably it's not dangerous for us. But in this article mentioned a case that a salesman who lose the memory about the using the cell phone.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He's afraid to, but probably it's a coincidence. Probably that man had problem with the memory and used cell phone too.
What did you think of the point of view? Was it fair? Or do you think it was unfair or just one side?
I think that is a good point of view. They explain a lot of details about the using cell phone and explain the dangers, the danger using it, but explain that today is not probable the healthy problems.
Okay, great. That's terrific. Why don't you go ahead and go back to your reading?
Okay, thank you.
Carlos did a very good job on this reading comprehension assessment. I used a rubric like this one to guide my assessment. You see, I describe on this form exactly the qualities I'm looking for in this retelling. I also establish levels. It helps me be consistent from student to student and to look for specific strengths and weaknesses. At the bottom of the page, I add notes about other things I heard during Carlos's retelling. Using the rubric allows me to remember the details of this assessment. It also lets me compare this session to Carlos's work last month or next month. I also make similar rubrics for listening skills, retelling, and for speaking skills in specific settings, such as during a presentation or role play. They can be adapted to any situation just by changing the skills or the levels that you list.